So we've had a look ahead to West Ham United, arguably the biggest game in living memory, certainly for me, for West Ham against Dinamo Zagreb, first ever Europa League group stage game on Thursday night. And then we're welcomed back to the Premier League with the small matter of facing Manchester United at home at the London Stadium on Sunday, complete with seemingly ever improving Cristiano Ronaldo. Got his career, or his second Man United career, off to an excellent start with a couple against Newcastle at the weekend. I'm delighted to say a man who looks about as good as Cristiano Ronaldo and is about the same age. It's Matt Beadle, friend of the podcast, sports journalist and Manchester United fan. Matt, great to speak to you again, mate. Nice to have you back. I think it's fair to say that you and Cristiano are in similar nick, don't you think?
I'll take it, mate. I will take it all day. So you can keep piling on those compliments. I will certainly take that, because he's up there. He's up there, in my opinion, with the greatest of all time, behind one man and one man only. And that's Brian Robson.
Brian Robson? What, as in just for sex appeal or being good at football?
Bit of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, look, it's good to speak to you, mate. Both of our clubs feel good factors, to be honest, at the moment. I've commented before. I think maybe even said it to you. It's a little bit disconcerting that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer almost sort of makes Man United likeable, which is as a feeling that doesn't sit too comfortably with me, or certainly wouldn't have done for the most periods of my life. What's your thoughts on United at the moment? The Ronaldo thing was obviously a huge boost for obvious reasons, but what's your thoughts on that? And just the club was in fairly rude health even before that, I would argue.
Yeah. The Ronaldo thing, I have to be brutally honest. I kept my distance from it, because it was one of those where, sometimes you have those scenarios in life where you're like, I'm not going to approach it. I'm not going to believe anything that's happened until it actually happens, because I don't want to jinx it. Anybody that spoke to me, I was like, no, until I see shirt in hand, pen on paper, we're not discussing this. We're not discussing. And to be honest, I still can't. And I think most United fans who were there in the era of his first spell at the club still can't quite actually believe that he's wearing a Manchester United shirt again that's not in an exhibition match. The fact that he walked out at Old Trafford on Saturday against Newcastle was just an incredible feeling, really. Absolutely incredible. I didn't know how it was going to go. I still don't quite know how it's going to pan out, but it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre to see him back in a Manchester United shirt, because you just never, ever thought it was going to happen again, especially the way that he spoke about Manchester United when he was at Real Madrid. It very much seemed like that was a part of his life. It was a chapter of his life that he completed, but he'd very much shut the book on it. So to come back,
go back sort of thing. Yeah,
absolutely. But it's great. And Saturday, yeah, what a start. I mean, you can't escape the fact that it was just a flying start.
Sorry, Reece, before you, I know you got a couple of questions for Matt. So you feel good about it, Matt, do you? Or I can't quite decipher whether you're excited or it's a brilliant thing, or you've got a couple of trepidations, but you just don't want to say him in case he goes on and scores 40 goals this season.
Yeah, no trepidation. I absolutely feel good about it. My only concern was, and maybe this was quashed on Saturday, was how it might impact Bruno Fernandes. And I only based that on what I saw of Portugal in the Euros at the summer. Now, the Bruno Fernandes we saw playing for Portugal, I'm sure you'll agree, was nothing like the Bruno Fernandes that we saw playing for Manchester United, or we have seen playing for Manchester United over the past 18 months. So I did think, how is this going to impact Bruno at Manchester United? But then on Saturday, he goes and gets the ball 25 yards out and smashes it in the top corner. So I'm guessing it's going to be all right.
Do you think, Matt, that him just being around the place again will bring on, let's say, your average players that have not performed in the last couple of seasons? Do you think just having him around and maybe his approach to games will change the mentality of some of them players?
I think it has to, Reece. Yeah, I think it has to. And when you've listened to Manchester United players of the past, especially Rio Ferdinand, always used to say every summer it wasn't unlike Alex Ferguson to have a new man in the changing room. Just so you looked around and thought, oh, we need to step up a gear here. We cannot rest on our laurels. And not to say United can rest on any laurels that they've had over the past few years. They need to win a title. They need to start winning trophies again. But just having someone of Cristiano Ronaldo's presence. I think you ask any footballer, even the way that Paul Pogba was speaking about him when he heard of the signing, speaking so glowingly and saying this can only improve us as a team. And yeah, like you say, the youth, which Manchester United do have in abundance again now, just like the old days, can only learn from Cristiano Ronaldo. Although I did read a couple of days ago that apparently he skipped the initiation song. I didn't read the full article. I just read a line, which if it's
good,
true,
is it?
That's not on. No.
It's not. What? Just while we're on the serious stuff, Matt, what song do you reckon he would have sung? That's poor. That you don't want to hear stories like that, do you?
Absolutely not. I mean, no one's bigger than the initiation song, right? You all have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What would he have sang then? I don't know any big Portuguese hits, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I'm not big on my Portuguese hits. I don't know if I can, a bit of reggaeton, maybe Portuguese, Brazil. I don't know, maybe something like that.
Maybe he cracked out a bit of Pavarotti or something like that. He picked up while he was at Juventus. Give the opera a smash. Who knows? But look, Matt, as far as on the pitch stuff goes, you've got a European game this week, just like West Ham. You're away to Young Boys in Switzerland Tuesday night. That is, you've got that game before the trip to West Ham. So you'll have an extra day, or no, an extra 2 days to recover ahead of that game at London Stadium. As far as the football goes, sort of, have you got any advice for us? First of all, our first European group stage go, or Europa League group stage game on Thursday. Do you expect those two things to factor into what happens on Sunday? Obviously a positive for you guys, I guess, that you've got that extra recovery time.
Potentially, yeah. I think the fact that United now have plenty of experience in Europe, of course, and this is, West Ham's, relatively small experience of European football. I was trying to think of the last time that we would have both played against each other following European competition. And I don't know, I was thinking of the Intertoto days way back when we were both maybe in European competition. But I think it might play a part. So Thursday night for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Away at Dynamo Zagreb.
And I think anybody going into their first European campaign of recent seasons, especially of this magnitude for West Ham in the Europa, expect the worst. I think that's the best thing that you can do. It took Manchester United a long time to grow accustomed, under Sir Alex Ferguson, to grow accustomed to European football. It took a hell of a long time. I mean, they were blighted by that whole, 3 foreigners rule, at the beginning of the Champions League and when they were in Europe, UEFA Cup. But it took Ferguson, so 1999 until he actually managed to get that trophy, that coveted trophy. So expect the worst. I don't think you can expect to come flying out of the traps. I think European football takes a lot of getting used to. Not so much the competition, the teams that you're playing against, but having to juggle arriving back on a Thursday evening or Friday morning, back into training, then playing at the weekends. It's so disruptive towards your normal routine.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one thing that we might struggle with. But, we've touched on it and said that, it's going to be brilliant for us to be involved in European football. In terms of your prospects this season, let's say in no particular order, but what is it? Do you think they'll be gunning for the league now Ronaldo's back? Or is it going to be any sort of trophy or everything? How do you think it's going to pan out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think expectations are everything, and I don't think that Manchester United fans have that expectation. And certainly not true ardent Manchester United fans have that expectation that the club are going to do an old school clean sweep. But certainly, minimum requirement this season is a trophy of some sort. I think that just has to be the case. And the title, I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility at all now. And that's the only thing with signing Ronaldo is that, and every pundit has alluded to this, is that, there's no excuse now. There's no escape. You signed Ronaldo. He's a serial league title winner, although not with Juventus last season, of course. But it's such a signing, like we've already alluded to, that you kind of have to go all out for the title. And we've said it many times before, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, third, second, the script is written that this season it should be top. And, Manchester City looking very good, Liverpool looking very good, West Ham, of course, looking very, very good. So who knows what will happen at the end of the season. But Manchester United fans want it. And domestic success is actually, well, for me, it's always been far more important than any type of European success. So the Premier League title is expected this season, but a trophy, first and foremost, minimum requirement is expected certainly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? For when you've made a sign of that magnitude, I think all you can expect is progress. And even when you're at the top, if you came second again, yeah, I don't think that'd be tragic. You just want to close the gap a bit, don't you? But I do think it's potentially there for the taking this year. Man City don't look as infallible as they have in seasons past. I do think Chelsea are going to be more of a challenge. I just think it's generally going to squeeze up a little bit. But yeah, the addition of Ronaldo certainly looks to have done you a favour so far. Looking ahead then, Matt, to the game on Sunday, sort of how do you see it playing out selection-wise? And, what do you expect from Solskjaer? Obviously, given that your Champions League game's coming up, we're going to we're saying we hope that we put out a full-strength side. And if you gave both of us a choice, Reece and I, that we'd rather win on Thursday than we would on Sunday. And if it's a case of limiting the damage on Sunday and by playing a weakened team Thursday, well, I'd rather just get thrashed 5-0 on Sunday, quite frankly. But from a United standpoint, what do you expect, like team-wise, and then how the game will play out?
That's interesting. It's interesting you said that you'd rather. So Europa League this season is more the priority for you than.
Yeah, we were saying that it's got to be, Matt. And it's me and Reece. Reece is slightly older than I have, but neither of us. This is our first time ever in the Europa League group stage proper. We didn't get into the UEFA Cup group stages. We're in the Premier League every year. We might, even if we flopped out the Europa League, we might only come 10th or whatever. I think we haven't got in it for such a long time. Who knows how long it will be again? Yeah, we both sort of the opinion. I think most West Ham fans are that it would be criminal not to give it our utmost. It's such a great achievement. It's such a feel-good factor around the club that if we got through to the Europa League knockout stages, and then, because let's be honest, we are unlikely to get further than, if we get through the group, maybe we've got 2 ties in us max. We've got time to focus on achieving in the Premier League again and doing good things. But yeah, 100%. I just want to throw everything at the Europa League, and then all the rest of it can come secondary to that, I think.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think one of the big things that I've noticed, certainly, or that I've always thought about West Ham, and I think we've discussed this previously on the podcast, is that for years, in recent times, you could just never, in my opinion, ever predict a West Ham 11. Every week, you're like, who's going to play this week? What team is going to be out there? Whereas now, under David Moyes, there is that consistency. And I think that's what's really exciting for West Ham fans. And when you ask me about Manchester United, there's something that's exciting for me as well at the moment. When you ask me about the team, instantly I go that back five: De Gea, Luke Shaw left back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka right back, Varane and Harry Maguire. That's really exciting to me, because that is, on the team sheet, pretty much every important game without a shadow of a doubt. I think where he might make changes is in the midfield for West Ham. Fred coming back, he didn't feature, obviously. He was back from that ridiculous scenario, that World Cup qualifying scenario in Brazil. He'll be back. And Scott McTominay has actually somehow just rapidly come back from groin surgery like no other man on the history.
Yeah.
Just seems to be, it's like surgery. Yeah, I'm ready to play. So
yeah,
come back in. Has often
still
played
got
well.
his gown on.
That's it. Yeah, he's often played well against West Ham. So I think there's a possibility he might come in too. But then it's you're attacking riches. Will he go Sancho? Will he go Greenwood? Will he go Ronaldo? Will Cavani come back in? He's got Martial waiting on the bench as well. There's so much there at the moment.
What have you made of Sancho so far, Matt? Sorry to butt in on you there, Reece, but yeah, came in for a lot of money, expecting big things from him. Lots of people were. United have been tailing him for, if reports to be believed, for a couple of seasons now. Certainly hasn't had as much of an impact as Ronaldo has, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, when you come in for that price tag, it's always going to be difficult. I think Paul Pogba's been battling that ever since he arrived in 2016. Jadon Sancho, listen, a quality player. It was difficult because I didn't actually see that much of him playing for Borussia Dortmund. I wasn't an avid follower of the Bundesliga. But what I saw of him in the Euros, and the highlights I saw of him more so in the Champions League over the course of the past few seasons, was that he's obviously a very good player. My concern again with this one to begin with was, and this was highlighted in the game against Southampton, the 1-1 draw, was that on occasions he was pretty much taking up the same positions and making the same runs as Mason Greenwood. And I thought this might be a bit of an issue, especially when Greenwood was playing on the right-hand side. It was like, they're both there. And I thought, how are they going to solve this? But clearly it takes time, right? I mean, he's just arrived at the club. It's not going to be an instant fix. And I think that we'll probably see the best of Jadon Sancho in the second half of the season, which isn't an issue for me at all. I think it's just going to take a bit of time. He played well against Newcastle at the weekend. I've been impressed with what I've seen, and I can only be excited by the fact that it's another young English talent at the club.
Yeah, you're not exactly hard pushed for people to slot in his place. Oh yeah, sorry, Reece, go on.
That's all right. No, I was going to say, you're talking about Sancho. I think, you're going to have a lot of games sort of coming thick and fast as well. So game time shouldn't be an issue for him, should it really? But going back to Mason Greenwood, will he end up an out-and-out striker? You say, I've seen him sort of play right, play left. Every time I watch him, he looks like he's got a deadly finish in him. He scored one against us last year at the London Stadium. So what's your opinion of him? Do you think he would stay? Is he long-term, or is it sort of see how it goes, a bit like Martial, would it maybe be edged out?
Edged out of the club, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, not at all. I think, he signed that big contract last season. I first and foremost think he's excellent. I think he's absolutely brilliant. When you say he's finishing, he's just got that Van Persie-esque ability to just shift it, and the power with a standing foot with minimal backlift. What we saw from Romelu Lukaku actually at the weekend with that brilliant second goal he scored against Aston Villa, is that Mason's got that, two-footed as well, takes penalties with his right foot on occasions just because he can. To answer your question about whether...
I think Reece used to do that, to be fair.
That's tired, mate.
About the out-and-out striker option, I think it's a bit of a difficult question to answer, because how often these days do you see an out-and-out striker? You look at even the likes of Kylian Mbappe, still not really an out-and-out proper old school striker like we used to see, like you see with Erling Haaland, who you could consider an out-and-out striker. I don't think that...
Well, we've got a right back playing up front, Matt.
Yeah. By the way, what's the crack? So is he eligible for the weekend? After that?
Suspended. He'll play Thursday, suspended for the most mindless second booking there has been.
Man. Still thinking about Save the Last Dance, even though it was Dirty Dance.
Yeah, I know. That was awfully pulled off, wasn't it? Awful. But yeah, go on, Matt. Sorry, carry on.
No, not at all. I just think that nowadays that type of role of being an out-and-out number 9 is becoming less of a thing. And I think the beauty of Mason Greenwood is that he can play on either side and out-and-out if he wants to. Sometimes that's to the detriment of a striker, because they, rather than be moulded as the out-and-out number 9 who will just be a lethal goal scorer, they are utilised in different positions. You've got Marcus Rashford to come back as well. But let's not forget about that too. But he nearly broke a record at the weekend, Mason Greenwood. He would have just been I think it was the 4th teenager to have scored in 4 games in a row in the Premier League. Just missed out on that. But I think he'll do that this season before he turns 20.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a class act. So, Matt, looking forward then to this game on Sunday. What are you expecting, sort of style of play wise, and then give us a score prediction as always.
Style of play wise, I think you'll see what you've seen from United in recent times. To be honest, I think attacking intent. That's what you've seen from United. Smart, incisive passing it's just been the way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has played pretty much ever since he took over. It hasn't always worked. Absolutely hasn't always worked. And his team selection has been the issue. And I think, again, I said this on the last podcast that I was on, that we can't forget we're actually still with a manager who's learning on the job. And I think that's a really important point to make. That he's a manager learning on the job. He's relatively new for this. Now, a few seasons in, okay, he's got to start making the right decisions. And I think that's been his downfall in recent seasons. But I think his team selection will probably be spot on. I think you'll see a not too dissimilar performance to what we saw last season at the London Stadium, only with a better first 45 minutes.
You smashing balls out for throw-ins and then all the officials ignoring them and then you scoring. Yeah.
But the game itself, listen, I know that it's always a different group of players, isn't it? It's a different collective. And Harry Redknapp always used to say this. I remember when he was asked questions about, oh, this team haven't got a very good record against you. They've only won once in the past 20 years. And he used to say, well, it's different teams, it's different players. You can't really bring those stats up. But with United and West Ham, there always is that something, isn't there? And I know the record's different on your own ground as opposed to Old Trafford, where it was, I think we're still looking at 2007, right? Since the last time you won at Old Trafford, which is incredible. Although I was looking at some stats earlier that whenever you won at Old Trafford, you always followed it up with a successive victory. So whenever you win at Old Trafford, you actually always win the next game. You did it in 86, I think, when you won the league. 2001 when Di Canio scored that goal with
Fabian. And then Defoe was that season, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there is that statistic, but your record over United at home, if we factor in the Boleyn and London Stadium, hasn't actually been that bad. I'm actually thinking it might be a draw at the weekend, and at some point, David Moyes does have to get the better of Manchester United. It's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, that's not a record he likes that. Well, look, James Jones in his Betway charity bet this week has gone for a draw. Me and Reece were a little bit more cautious with our selections, but look, it's shaping up. It's a great week for West Ham, a Europa League away game, then a game against Manchester United at home. There's going to be eyes on us across Europe and across the world. So we're just hoping we put in a good show. And if I think me and Reece both snap your arm off for a point now. But again, priority for us definitely on the Dinamo Zagreb game. If we come out the week unbeaten, then I'll eat my hat. But Matt, it's been great to speak to you again, mate. Matt Beadle there, sports journalist, friend of the podcast and Manchester United fan for the Opposition View. Brilliant to have you on again, Matt. And stay.